Hello friends, welcome to QApedia and this is our blog QApedia.com. The topic that we are going to discuss today is test case execution, and the subtopics that we will discuss today are: what is test case execution, example of test case execution, summary of the session, question for the session. So let's start. Test case execution. In the last session we had discussed about test cases, which is one of the testing term. And in this session, we are going to discuss another testing term, which is test case execution. What is test case execution? This is the most important stage in software testing life cycle. First, we start writing test scenarios, and once we are done with writing test scenarios, we start writing test cases. And once we are done with writing test cases, we start executing test case. So this executing test case is called test case execution process. And when we execute a test case, then we note down the test results, and those test results are called as actual results. Now we compare this actual result with expected result, and if both are same, then the test case is considered as passed. But if both are not same, then it is considered as failed. Whenever a test case is passed, testing is considered as complete for the test case. But whenever a test case is failed, a defect is raised for the same and then assigned to the developers so that developers can fix the defect. And when developers fix it, we test the test case again, and it is called retesting because we are testing the test case again. Testing the test case again is called retesting, and it will continue until the test case is passed. Now, example of test case execution. So let's take an example of a project where the developers are building or developing a calculator. So a calculator will have some functionalities like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So first thing is that we will do the first thing that we will do is we will write test scenarios, and then we will write test cases. So below could be the test scenarios example: add two numbers, test scenario 1, subtract two numbers, test scenario 2, multiply two numbers, test scenario 3, divide two numbers, test scenario 4. Now let's see the possible test cases for those test scenario. So we'll make a table, and that one column will have test scenarios, one column will have test cases. So for add two numbers test scenario, we have written one test case, adding two positive numbers and then check the outcome. Then for the same scenario, we have written one more test case, adding one positive number and one negative number, where positive number is bigger than the negative number, and then we should check the outcome. Add two numbers, adding one positive number and one negative number, where negative number is bigger than the positive number, and then we should check the outcome. Then subtract two numbers. We have to subtract a small number from a big number. Again, for subtract two numbers, we should subtract a big number from a small number. Then again, subtract two number, we should subtract a positive and a negative number. The same way for multiplication also we have written some test cases, or we can see some possible test cases, like multiply a positive and a negative number, multiply two positive numbers, and multiply two negative numbers. Now we are going to execute those test cases, or we will see how the execution will look like. So here is the test execution example for those test cases. We have created a table. In one column test scenario and test case and test data that we are going to use for executing the test case. Expected result, then actual result. Expected result is something that we are expecting for that particular test case execution. Actual result, which will actually come after the execution. Status will be the test execution status, and then defect number will, if the test case is failed, then there will be a defect number for associated with that particular test case. So let's see the first test case. Adding two positive numbers and check the outcome. So we have taken two positive numbers 4 and 2. Expected is 6. Actual is also 6. Actual result is also 6. So the actual result and expected result both are same. So the status of the test case will be pass, and there will be no defect number for the test case. Then adding a positive number and one negative number where positive number is bigger than the negative number. So this is the positive number, this is 4 and minus 2. So 4 is bigger than 2, 2 is negative and 4 is positive. When we will add these two numbers, expected result is 2, and if actual is also coming 2, then the test case will be passed, considered as passed. Then let's see one more test case, adding one positive number and one negative number where negative number is bigger than the positive number. So 2 and 4, but 4 is negative and 4 is bigger than 2. Okay, so when we will add these two, 2 plus minus 4, we are expecting minus 2 to come, but our calculator is showing 2. That means actual result and expected result are not same. So the test case will be failed, and we will raise some defect, and the defect number will be some ID, that is called as defect ID. We are calling it 123. We are saying 123 is the defect number. Then subtract a small number from a big number. This is for subtraction, subtracting two numbers. So we'll see the first test case. Subtract a small number from a big number. So when we'll subtract a small number from a big number, like 4 minus 2, we are expecting 2 to come. Actually is also 2, so the test case is passed and there is no defect. Subtract a big number from a small number, 2 minus 4, we are expecting minus 2, minus 2 is coming, so actual and expected are same, test case is passed and there is no defect number. Then subtract a positive and a negative number. We are saying 4 minus minus 2, the expected is 6, but if suppose our calculator is showing 2, so actual and expected are not same, so our test case is failed, and there will be a defect raised for that one. Some defect ID will raise, and some defect ID will be generated, some defect number will be generated. So this is how we do the test case execution process. The same thing for multiplication also we will do. You can see it. Now let's see the summary of the session. So we have discussed below topics in this session, like what is test execution process, how to do test execution, and then example of test case execution. Now, question for the session is that how how will you do test case execution for login functionality in any website? Okay, so you have to tell how will you do test case execution process for execution for a login functionality in any website, and you can refer this particular session. So if you want to get the notes for this session, you can go to this blog, and that's it for the session.